Hopefully you have already watched the main video on zero and negative exponents. This video just goes a little bit further with a little bit more challenging problems. So if you're using the same notes page, there's room at the bottom of that notes page to add these problems, or of course you could always just do them on a separate sheet of binder paper. So the directions here say to write without using a fraction bar, which means I somehow need to write these without using a fraction bar. And I'm going to start with this one, 12x to the third over y to the fourth. So what it's asking me to do is I somehow need to move that y to the fourth, because then there won't be anything left under the fraction bar except for a 1. And we know that if it's just a 1 in the denominator, that I don't really need to write it. So in the other lesson, we learned that to turn a negative exponent into a positive, we just needed to move it to an opposite location. So since I need to get this up to the top, I just need to write the opposite of y to the fourth, which would be y to the negative fourth. Everything else gets to stay where it was. So the 12 stays on the top, and the x to the third gets to stay on the top, which means that this final answer would be 12x to the third, y to the negative fourth. So again, if I move something from one location to the other, I'm moving it to the opposite location. That means that the exponent will have the opposite sign. It was on the bottom and it was positive. The opposite of that would be to be on the top and to be negative. Now this first example I wrote here doesn't actually go with these instructions. I'm sorry about that. This problem is really wanting us to write using an exponent. So 144 is actually, sorry about that, school bell, 144 is actually 12 to the second power. This is what you will see on your homework tonight. It doesn't actually go with that first set of instructions to write without using a fraction bar. So I apologize again that those ended up on the same page. There's one other type of challenging question that you will see in your homework, and those problems look like this. So the base of these is a 7. And we figured out in class some exponent rules, and those exponent rules were when we are multiplying exponents together, we didn't multiply these numbers, we actually added them. So I need to do 5 plus negative 13. And this goes all the way back to the very beginning of the school year. 5 plus negative 13, do those have same signs or different? They're different, so we will subtract. 13 take away 5 is 8. And because that 13 is bigger and it's negative, it's going to be negative 8. And I'm almost done, except I'm going to go back and check these instructions again. These instructions say write using only positive exponents. Is this positive exponent? No. So how do I make it positive? We learned to think 3 different ways in the last video on how to make this positive. One way was to consider this a fraction and to do the reciprocal of that fraction, which would be to flip this over, 1 over 7 to the 8th power. That was one way we thought about it. Another way that we thought about this was to say, well, this is on the top. I need to move it to the bottom. That will make it positive. And what would be on the top? A 1. So lots of different ways to come up with this same answer. Let's try one more of these together, and then you'll have your own to practice on tonight for the homework. The base here is b, so the b doesn't change. And then I am supposed to add together these exponents. It is negative 12, negative 12, and negative 8. And these actually have the same signs. They're both negative. Same signs, so we add 12 plus 8 is 20, and it is negative. This is like saying you owe me $12, you owe me 8 more, so in total you owe me 20. And I go back up and I look at those instructions again. It says, please write with only positive exponents. And as I said in that last video, Ms. Carnes hates negative exponents, so please fix them. So how can I fix this? The same way that I learned how in that other video. I move this from where it is down to the bottom, which switches the sign from being a negative 20 to being a positive 20. It is the opposite. It is in the opposite location, and I've got a 1 that goes on the top. You will see these type of challenging problems on your homework tonight.